Welcome to RateFrame, the Warframe build game show where you always win and the host always loses. The rules are simple. 1. You vote on a Warframe. 2. Once the vote is cast, I cannot make any changes to that build. No last minute changes, no researching the meta, raw and unedited. 3. You judge the build in the comments below, and don't forget to vote for the Warframe you want to see next. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get into it. Last time on RateFrame, none of the Warframe votes were able to pull ahead from one another. We had an all-way tie once again. So this time I've decided that in the event that there is a tie, I'm just going to choose. I'm going to be the tiebreaker. I'm going to choose whatever Warframe I want to build, and I'm going to show you the build that I got for it. Now this time I figured this happened right here at the end of October, and we had a perfect opportunity, a perfect time to go ahead and do OBERON, thanks to the new OBERON rework that just came out. Now I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about the new OBERON rework. A lot of OBERON mains have been in my comments talking about how they're not liking it all that much for this, that, or the other reason, but it's been mixed, I would say. A few people have been very negative on it. Other people have been disappointed that it took away a playstyle they were used to, but overall happy with the changes. I'm going to go through the build that I created when I saw the design showcase that Pablo put together, and we're going to run through all of the mods, all of the shards, everything that we need to do. So let's jump in. Hitting on the mods, we have, first off, I'm going to go over the abilities because we are talking all about the different synergies now. With this passive, Oberon grants righteous negation to himself and his allies in affinity range when he collects health orbs, protecting players against the next instance of damage stacks up to 3 times. So this is an extremely powerful passive. It is essentially a no-cost Mesmer skin. It's not nearly as strong as Mesmer skin, but it is free, and it is a core part of the kit. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and subsumed Smite for Fractured Blast. We are doing this because even though it has a slightly diminished strength, the ability to have health and energy orbs drop from enemies with pretty high likelihood is going to be a core part of making this build work constantly. For Aura, we have growing power because we're going to be using a high status weapon on our primary in order to get more ability strength. We have Prime Continuity to increase the duration of Hollowed Ground. Now, Hollowed Ground, it is no longer in a cone, it is a radius, and something that's different about it that people aren't really taking advantage of is that you can cast it 3 times. So you can either spread out your cast in order to get just above 75 meters squared on the ground there of coverage for controlling an entire room, or if you want to take out a single group in one location much more quickly, you can cast it 3 times in the same spot and create a very high damaging zone. All radiation procs therefore taking the damage they do to you off of you and onto each other. Then we have Renewal, which is now of course going to be a channeled ability that actively works as people come in and out of it. The main reason that we are going to be using Renewal is that it's going to increase our own armor. Sure, it helps other people, yada, don't care about them. This is all about me, my armor increasing and creating essentially double the energy reserves, because our first augment, our first arcane is Arcane Battery. This is probably the most important one for the build in order to always be casting. By increasing our energy using armor, we don't have to fit flow into the mod loadout at all. We can pump our armor enough to have all the energy that we need. Now I have opted for popping in all 3 of the Umbral. Only one Umbral Foreman needed for this, but putting in all 3 of the OBERON mods just so that I can have more health, so that I don't have to worry about making sure that the passive gets up before the fight even begins, so that I have a little bit of staying power at the beginning. And of course it increases the other 2 mods, Umbral Intensity in order to get that plus 77 strength without any sacrifice to other stats, Umbral Fiber to get more armor, to get more energy, then Stretch, Augur Reach. We are going range positive, of course, in order to have the maximum distance possible for Hollowed Ground, and the maximum distance possible for Fractured Blast, and the maximum distance possible for Reckoning in order to deal damage to the groups that we are going to be putting ourselves smack dab in the middle of. What is absolutely necessary for this build is going to be Equilibrium. This is going to make it so that we can keep picking up all of the orbs, health, and energy, even if our health is at max and our shields are up. You're going to need something like that because you don't want to leave those health orbs on the ground waiting to take damage to put the shield back up. You just want that shield to keep going back up even if you don't need it. And then we have Transient Fortitude, that's going to increase the ability strength 55. We lose out on duration, but you're not going to worry about that because we're going to have so much energy that we're going to be constantly casting. It's not even going to be a problem. I would much rather lose a little bit of that duration with this than lose any of the range with some other mod in order to increase our damage. And of course, we're just throwing in Molt Augmented here to increase the ability strength over time. I thought about a few different of the arcanes that could maybe go in here that would be a little bit better, a little bit worse, maybe something that makes more sense, more unique to the build. I couldn't think of it. I found other ones that increase your armor would technically be on theme, but aren't really necessary with the amount of energy that we're getting. So that is the main thrust of the build there. If I wanted to pop in another Umbral Forma and throw in a Forma on the Exilus adapter, we could put in, Cunning Drift to have a little bit extra range, probably not all that worthwhile. The Endurance Drift for maximum energy and more parkour would actually probably be better, even though you don't need the energy, just so that we can use our movement and not treat Oberon like a frame that needs to sit in the middle of the room and do everything at range, because that's not really how Oberon needs to play anymore. I don't really see any of the other ones being of much use. People like Prime Sure-Footed because it makes up for getting knocked down, but this is a skill issue, quite honestly. If you just don't get knocked down, if you roll through the things that knock you down, or if you have your melee up and you do a block, you're good. Don't waste your time on Prime Sure-Footed unless you know you're gonna be falling down a lot. Just don't fall down. Alright, next we got Phantasma Prime. Phantasma Prime is only going to really come into play when we are facing an opponent that has that high overguard, high health. We don't have Smite to be the overguard solution anymore for this build, so instead we're going to just use pure ridiculous fire procs to take the place of that. This is the Phantasma Prime build. This is not my own build. I got this from a guide, but you can go ahead and pause the video, take a screenshot of it, and build it out yourself. Basically what it does is it stacks heat procs like a... I was about to cuss, but I'm going to not cuss because I'm a good child. But basically, yeah, it stacks heat procs like crazy and causes things to burn themselves to death real fast, which you're going to see is, or you may not see, depends on which mission I get, but especially with some of these Corpus missions that we're running for the Undermine quests, when they got that boss come out, the Arachnoid, that's what we're calling them, that has the overshields come up, you can melt those overshields before they even start just by stacking heat procs on them. This is pretty good. It's obviously not perfect. I have a not maxed out point blank right here. You could do some little tweaks to improve it, probably have something, maybe replace something in here for something that increases status damage, but that's not going to be too much of an issue when you have hundreds of stacks of flame damage on a target. I have the Grimoire as my secondary so that I can, sometimes I use it for this, to have Pistol Pestilence on there in order to increase that status damage. Other times I use it as my secondary, which isn't super all that necessary for this build in terms of actually dealing damage. Maybe if I'm having trouble hitting something at range, I'll switch to it, but I think for now, while I'm showing it off, I'm going to switch to this so that I can have the Pistol Elementalist and get that universal status damage increased. Even though Oberon's abilities don't do status damage, the Phantasma will definitely benefit from it. And then, in order to keep with the Paladin theming, I thought long and hard about which sword and shield weapon I wanted to go with, but I decided to go with the Argo and Vel because I feel as though aesthetically it matches the most and it allows me to keep the gameplay that I want. The only other sword and shield that I have right now is the Sigma and Octantis, but I kind of don't like it because it prevents you from being able to do the ground slam, and the ground slam I feel is very important for your movement tech. Oberon does have a solution for that. If you need to hit the ground really quickly, you can just cast Hollowed Ground instead of doing a ground slam, but I still like having both options available. Obviously, I wouldn't use this skin. I would use the one that comes with the alternate Oberon skin that I'm using, but we're not using this at all. We are using Argo and Vel. So here's the build for Argo and Vel. We got Final Harbinger in for our stance just because it's the one that I think feels the best of the two that are available. Prime Pressure Point damage, Gladiator Vice for attack speed, and melee critical on increasing our melee combo. We are using the Naramon school, so our combo is going to stay up if we decide to make it a melee run just for fun. Usually not necessary, but it's available. Same thing with Blood Rush, Fever Strike, Primed Fever Strike in order to get that toxic damage high, Primed Fury in order to increase our speed, Galvanized Steel, more critical chance, Gladiator Might, critical damage, and Amalgam Organ Shatter. I only have this one on. Normally I use the regular Organ Shatter in order to have that extra 5% crit damage, but because Argo and Vel has the unique trait of shooting off a glaive when you do the heavy attack. I don't really like building for heavy attack unless it's more geared towards the build overall, and I'm really not going to be using. You really won't have to use melee all that much when you are doing this. I use it a little bit at the beginning in order to just have a cheap, quick way to get my energy built up at the start of a mission, but then once that's going, I'm pretty much just going to be a pure caster. But yeah, the extra heavy attack wind-up speed without going too far away from just being a crit monkey weapon is nice. Melee exposure is the arcane because we are going to be constantly casting with the Oberon build, and so we are going to be hitting that 240% extra corrosive damage pretty quickly, and that makes it so that even with only a 1/4 chance to proc the status, we are going to be dealing corrosive and bringing down the armor of high armor targets reliably enough that it's going to be a good solution for armor. So we have Phantasma Prime to take care of any shields, we have Argo and Vel to take care of armor, we have Oberon's abilities to take care of groups. Let's go ahead and look at the Archon shards. First one is casting speed, because Oberon's casts, they're a little slow. Not terribly slow, only one is going to be plenty. The rest of them are ability damage, plus 15% ability damage on radiation status, 4 of them. Now you may think that's a little bit overkill, but because we are going to be doing radiation status on everything, and then hitting them with our 4th ability in order to deal large damage, this is going to be, I think, the best way to get the most damage out of that ability, rather than just trying to pump power strength and get it that way. We've got a lot of sources of power strength. We don't need to come up on the edge of that. With the higher damage output of Reckoning, we're going to be getting that damage, the bonus damage from radiation statuses, and the bonus damage from radiation statuses from the Archon shards. Yeah, it's going to be great. And also, it's an armor strip in case you don't want to be running in with Argo and Vel. We can just keep spamming this once or twice in order to deal with those high armor targets. Personally, I really love the Oberon rework. It has been very good to me, very fun to play. The one drawback that I'm finding, I can say from having played it a little bit now, is that if your teammates are actually really good and kill all the mobs before you can prime them with Citrine's first ability with Fractured Blast, then you're going to have a little bit of trouble getting your energy up to max in order to have the build get to the point where it is constantly feeding into itself, but that's not terribly much of a problem. Now, for the pet, I had Helios Prime on. I'm scanning the new targets for the Undermine missions, but I'm pretty much scanned up. I haven't really given it much thought. I suppose you could go with Shisa with your Helminth Kubradon, your Helminth Charger, if you wanted to have a more plant or fungal theming for your characters overall. For now, I'm just going to stick with our Smita Kavat so I can get the occasional bonus crit chance, get those red crits now and again. I won't need them, but if I have Durgar on, then we won't have to deal with the sound of scanning, which I've received a couple comments that a couple people get a little bit triggered, get a little bit assaulty when they have to hear the scannings happening in the background while I am making these videos. So that is off the plate. Now, time to peep the fashion. I actually like keeping the Phantasma Prime with the coloration that I've put on it here. I've used the Dex color palette and I actually like it quite a lot. I like that it stands out as a separate thing that I'm holding. It's not too overly saturated and meshes well thanks to the orange brown, thanks to the purple. It meshes well with both of the Oberon builds that I have, Oberon fashions that I have in different ways. So now actually looking into it, this is definitely not a single palette build. So a three palette colorizing, not all that elegant, but of course we have chosen the Thearch skin in order to really get a look that I feel is better proportioned. Oberon, he's got a little bit of a dad bod. There's nothing wrong with having a bit of a dad bod. I got one of those in real life, and I'm not even a dad. But I wanted something that was a little bit sleek, and you know that this is the sleekest design that the game has ever since you did the what was it called, the Emerald Grove quest, and you fought these guys. You know that they were one of your favorite Warframe designs. The helmet, obviously we're sticking with the Thearch, but I have seen some good colorization with the Oryx and the Machor. I don't like the Machor that much. This is probably the Oberon Taurus helmet is probably the one that hits that feeling of being a paladin the most. But if I were to go with any of the ones that I don't own, I would grab the Ferosh because I like how the horns, the antlers rise up and kind of meet the tips of the Signa here. Animation set, I've chosen Noble. Agile's fine, but I don't like that he looks a little bit like he's trying to be a creeper. Noble's a little boring. He's just standing still. It's hardly different from the neutral. It's even less animated than the neutral, in my opinion. But we'll go with the Noble. Attachments. I have never found that the Lorcan attachments work with anything. But when I saw that it was working with this, I thought it was pretty good. It looks like a little couple extra leaves coming out. And of course, we are also using the Lorcan or the Shandana, the Sancti Shandana, which because of our ability casting, it's actually going to get its full tail pretty quickly and keep it throughout the mission. So we're going to really look like a little forest here while we're running around doing all this paladin role play. And then I've gone with the Kuzon ephemera, which covers you in leaves and then vines and branches over time, and then it fades back. This one can be a little hard to style for, because if you choose a color that is too saturated, it's going to just look like you're covered in that color and you lose all the texture of the leaves. If you choose a color that is too dark, you're going to do the same but the opposite. You're going to cover up all of the details of the rest of your colors for Oberon. But yes, this is the aesthetics for our Paladin class, but I have one more special little twist on this, because this is a double fashion episode of RateFrame. Not only do we have a Paladin, but we have the Oathbreaker Paladin. Alright, so we're going with a darker theme, and this is obviously inspired by the Undermine update. The Undermined update is very much all about them mushrooms, and so I figure we get something a little bit more dark, a little more fungal going. Of course, you might have seen it a little earlier. That was a little bit of a sneak peek, but we have the Argo and Vel variation copying the Warframe colors so that we can make sure that dark paladin look stays the whole time. And look, you can see it also matches the Phantasma Prime. See what I'm talking about there? It works out. And of course, to make this happen, we chose a variety of different colors. We have the Deep Purple from the Kavia palette. We have any white will do, white from the Dex palette. We have accents, the my classic favorite purple of any of the palettes here from the Eminent set, which is right in the middle between being red and being blue. It is not too red, not too blue, a very nice middle of the road purple. But if you like a purple that's a little bit more blue, just go right to the right of it. And then my emissive, I kept it the same because I kind of like the red and orange, but for our energy, it's going to be red and purple, and you're going to see how that works in mission. But we also have the ephemera, and the attachments. Tech Rot shoulders, in order to get that little extra mushroom esque sprongs coming off the top of those. I wanted to use the Tech Rock leg attachments as well, but if I throw those on, you will see that looks a little bulky, and it clips with the skirt, and I don't like it clipping with the skirt. All of the legs either clip with the skirt or get hidden by the skirt. We're just going to leave it blank. We have the Zigiela, the impossible to say Zigiela ephemera here, in order to create this very neat cracking pattern, which I think fits with the theming of an Oathbreaker paladin. The covering in webs, the dark shadows, fog coming off of him. This is really selling that dark vibe. A couple options that I considered. We have the Raya Aurora ephemera. That would have been a good choice for emanating that darkness. We have the Love Bite ephemera. That would continue to sell this sort of harmed individual aesthetic, give us a little bit more mushroom-like sprongs coming off of it. But of course, there's also the mushroom ephemera from the new update, which we may actually stick with once that becomes available to us. But for now, I feel as though this is the best. This is the good one. We kept the Creo Signa on both. The different colors work either way. I especially love kind of muted mauve metal leaves here next to the energy leaves. This is probably my favorite of the two. I just threw this together last night, and yeah, this one's working for me. But I'm going to show you one mission with the Light Paladin, one mission with the Dark Paladin, the Oathbreaker colors, and you tell me which aesthetic you prefer. And of course, to stay on theme, we are going to go to Fortuna and we are going to do the Undermined missions. So let's take a look at those. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and do these missions solo so that I can really show off what the build is trying to do without getting interrupted by other players. I don't know how anyone else has been playing their new Oberons, but this is how I do it. So first things first is just prime. Prime the first enemies you see with your crystals so that you can get your energy up. I made a little bit of a mistake there. Whoop, got caught on the ledge. I made a little bit of a mistake there by not immediately killing them, by priming twice when I didn't need to. But you can see, thanks to equilibrium, we are getting energy as much as we needed. And we are almost at the base max before we get even more energy. I should probably also do the mission. But when you have enough energy, when you're feeling comfortable, go ahead and pop your renewal, and you're going to be able to start building even more energy on top of that, and then you'll have plenty, both from your 1 and from your 4, when you start getting ready to use your ultimate ability. I typically wait until my energy is entirely filled up before I start popping everything in earnest, but perhaps I'll be able to show that to you right away in the next mission node here. Alright, so what I mentioned before about stacking your hollowed ground, you stack it like this.
There they are, lazy as usual. You know what to do.
And it still spreads pretty wide. It may not be able to be completely maxed out for range and cover multiple rooms, but you can still take out pretty much everyone you need to. A lot faster in the area that you're actually going to be working in. And I think that's an improvement. Ah, the neutralizer fell right on top of me. Extremely rude. Now I gotta pop my renewal back and build that energy up again. Completely inappropriate behavior on the part of the Corpus, if I do say so. Oh, I've already defeated the 20 enemies I need. I should probably do the objective. And as you can see, it didn't take any time at all. Even after losing the renewal to a neutralizer, didn't take any time at all in order to get that back online. The max energy that I'm going to get right now is just a little bit above 1,000. It's already extremely overkill, and you're going to get energy back every time you cast your 1 or your 4. So yeah, the basic strategy for using the new Oberon that I have found is essentially not a very long or complicated process. It's just maybe 3 steps. You jump in, try to find the center of whatever the group that you're going to damage is. You slam down onto them with hollowed ground, and then you pop your 4. Well, first prime them with Fractured Blast. Never forget to prime with Fractured Blast in order to get those extra orbs to drop. Oh! Had a little bit of a bug there with the button holding down. If you do forget to prime them with Fractured Blast now and again, it's not that big of a deal, but that is what's going to keep you online the entire time without having to worry or think about it. If you're doing it right, you almost are never going to be using your weapons except for very specific targets. All of the mobs are going to be taken out by this very simple series of hollowed ground, prime, 4, and they're gone.
Find them.
Anyone that was protected behind a wall, you just deal with them later. Hollowed ground, prime, 4, and you have all of your energy back. Hollowed ground, prime, 4, energy back. You never run out.
Fungi ready for you.
So the main reason that I like the new hollowed ground aesthetic here. Ooh, I'm gonna lose this one.
Another cluster of
I didn't lose it. That's good.
You know what to do.
is because, for one, when you're using lighter colors on a tile set like this, it really stands out against
One less bloom
it
for
really
them.
stands out against
Imagine the look on
the
their
color
face when his
palette that you're
work showed
working
up without a
with.
lick of syzygy.
And when
But
you
you
cover
tear
the
them
ground, you can really see
the weed I need you
everything.
to
I
pull.
do also
Roots
appreciate that
don't
the
like
new
'em.
hollowed ground has
Neither
come
do I.
with a new aesthetic. Let me try to show it off here again. It's not just the large fern leaves.
got a
We
new
have
boss man working
lavender, we have other
Handpicked to
wild
wipe out the roots and
flowers.
fruits.
Like there's a
And they will.
variety of foliage
Unless
in
you get
hollowed
to 'em
ground
first.
now, and I think it looks
man's
a
hiding in his
lot
office.
better. And that's
Make
a
him
that's a
pop
little
out to see
thing
why they're
that
not
I
making greater.
appreciate. Things that just a little bit of an aesthetic improvement to make using him
man's here.
feel
You know what
like
to
you're showing off, like you're being a cool guy. But I also think you're going to like how it looks
Place
with
looks better
the
already.
Oathbreaker Paladin a bit more. If I know people's preferred aesthetics, I think that's going to be the case. I go in and out. I go back and forth between whether or not I like my light paladin and my Oathbreaker Paladin more. Did Nef Anyo just try to shame me for being put into a coma and hidden in the anti-realm without against my consent? What was he even talking about? I wasn't paying attention. I really like Nightcap.
I know a cove when I see one.
I love that that there are just tons of mushrooms inside his suit as well. It's beautiful. All right, we're gonna do it again. I will say
the
something
kind of
that is
bottom
nice
feeder I
about
appreciate.
the Oathbreaker look is that it's also quite, it's not as busy. Like the Kuzon Ephemera, very busy. There's different stages of the Kuzon Ephemera that I think look better or worse, but when it's at its max or when it's at its smallest, the Kuzon Ephemera is, it's too much.
Down here? Where is my palace?
Or not
haven't
enough.
Even broken ground yet.
Yeah, so we're building up our energy first.
Corporate just don't know when to call it quits.
Doesn't take
More
much to
riffraff
get
in
done. Now that we have our energy, we get renewal on, and we're going to just get even more energy from here on out. Pop our hollowed ground out. And look how pretty that is. Look how pretty all this purple is. Purple and red goes great together. Now you can overdo it if you're casting the 4 too often. You do have to pay a little bit of attention to whether or not you're actually getting those orb drops, because you can get unlucky. You can get unlucky with a few of those drops in a row, not giving you
chose
enough
a
health
dull
orbs to
button.
get all of your energy back.
They'll have a flavour.
So you gotta
If
pay
you boil them
attention.
long enough.
Pay attention just a little bit. I suppose I should also show off
Despises
what it
him.
looks like to spread the hollowed ground
heard the
out
movements
and
of
around in
foraging
a few
for
different
syzygy.
areas.
You got to get to them first.
So this is
When you
essentially
do,
what you do.
Stay close till they're
Jump
done
to
blooming.
one area, get out of the area you were in, jump to another, and then
spring
you
popper.
are spread
A
quite
bundle that stack of
around.
explosives got nothing on
And now you
anyone
can see
that eats
they're all
one of
fighting
those.
each other, doing enough
More
damage to
fungi
kill
ready
each
for you.
other, and
Get
not
that
even paying
energy before
attention
the
to
mercs
me.
do.
It's
One less
nice.
bloom for them.
It's still a nice
More about to
strategy to
bloom.
paint the entire
I'll bet
room
the
with your
taxman
hollowed
pluck 'em
ground
first.
rather than just stacking it in one place. Though my preference is to stack it in one place
safe
and
and
just
sound.
get the group
More
gone
about
and
to
done
bloom.
with. Woo!
Don't let the
Look at
taxman
how
pluck
high
'em
he
first.
flew! I'm not paying attention to the mission again. That's bad of me. I should play the game as though I'm actually playing the video game as opposed to just watching it.
Is that in the
Also,
outfit?
when you're down
I should be
here,
more careful.
pay attention to the
Someone
wall
might take
graffiti.
him.
It's very cute. It has a lot of depictions of the Sprawdlings. But not just the Sprawdlings. You can see they've drawn themselves. Yeah, look and see. But oh, there's a big one, and that's obviously Noko. All the little graffitis in the Undermined are absolutely adorable, and I appreciate them a lot. Alright, so we're going to just prime the area. Oh look, everyone showed up and they're already in my hollowed ground and they're already gone. Why did you hide behind the mushroom? This is annoying. Get out of here. I know there must be a faster way to do this, like just running to the extraction point, but there's something to be said about staying in the spirit of the mission and not just running ahead without them. I think these work a lot better than other extraction types, mission types, full mission types that we've had. Because you do kind of need to stay close to them, because the enemy spawns are consistent enough and in a row, in an actual line, rather than just overwhelming from behind. Alright, last node. Wait, the fugitive didn't go in there yet! I thought he went in there. I was getting so distracted.
You really legged it out there.
I really didn't leg it.
Yeah, I know you do. You catch my meaning.
My cat's at the door.
Nothing for you.
It's feeding time. I'm up in the early morning, so my cat Jazz is asking
New
for
pest in the
breakfast.
garden.
Alright, now we can show off the Phantasma. So I pop my hollowed ground 3 times and just unload. Oh, he didn't even get a chance to do the
Remind me to
overguard.
stay on your sunny side.
Oh, that's way not the overguard, the overshield.
Hold on.
Didn't even get a chance to start
didn't
doing
put
the
up too much of a
overshield. That
fight.
was beautiful. That hasn't happened to me before.
Mess with
Oh, I
my
love it.
operation.
Phantasma is such a good gun. Such a good gun. Alright, so that is it. That is it for the Oberon build video. Now it is your turn, everyone. Time to get in the comments, rate my build, tell me what you think about it, tell me where you think it can be improved, tell me what you think about the fashion choices and what I should do a little bit of a change here and there for. This one I'm actually pretty proud of. I think you're going to like it too. I think I found a really fun way to play the new Oberon rework, and I'm very curious to hear if other people who are now picking up Oberon for the first time or starting to main him after years of being with the other Oberon. Let me know what you think of this kind of play style and if you're having fun with it, if you've developed something similar or if you found an entirely different way to play. You can also rate the fashion, but most importantly, don't forget to vote for the next Warframe. Don't make me choose again, guys. Don't make me choose again. I want to do the builds that you want to see. The spirit of the entire series is to catch me off guard and make me make do with whatever I happen to have. That is what I want this series to become. Keep me on my toes. Put in your votes. Choose the next frame for the RateFrame series. And that's it for the build. Judge it and cast your votes in the comments. Like and subscribe to support the channel, and I wish you some happy building.